Welcome, everybody, to an incredibly breaking episode. We're talking about these unprecedented floods which have just hit Beijing. And in fact, most of China has experienced some kind of heavy downfall. It's insane.
There's a couple things I just want you to know. It's really important because we experienced, when we lived in China over a decade, if you guys are new here, when we lived in the south of China, we had experienced flooding all the time.
Every year.
It was ubiquitous. It was in every Chinese city in the south. But that comes with typhoons and bad weather. This is the first time that China's experienced horrific flooding in the capital, where, the dictator lives.
Yes.
And it has so many implications and so many things that are important surrounding this event and so many things that are being covered up.
Yes.
And so we wanted to verify things. We wanted to make sure you understood very clearly what's happening, but this is crazy.
We've got some incredible footage coming out of China. First, we're going to start out with something that's quite unprecedented, and that is the Forbidden City being flooded. For those of you who don't know, the Forbidden City is just off of Tiananmen Square, and it hasn't flooded in hundreds of years.
No, 140 years.
Yeah. The joke here that people wrote there is like, after the new renovations, suddenly it can flood again.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that a little later on.
Importantly, guys, you have to know that China, this is the worst flooding, the worst disaster from floods that China's ever seen in documented history.
Yeah.
That's kind of an important detail.
It is an important detail. Now, this is Tiananmen Square.
Now, Tiananmen Square is very important. It is the gate of heavenly peace in China, and that's literally indicative of the dynasties, of the leader and the ruler, right?
Yes.
Which is very important to understand because there is not supposed to be disasters in that area, and we'll get into that why. It's very auspicious.
Yeah. This that you see over here is the Beijing International Airport. Now, this was only completed about 4 years ago, and it cost something ridiculous. How much did it end up costing? I think it was 80 billion yuan.
Yeah, so it ended up being...
In US dollars, what is that?
In US dollars, it ended up being $11.4 billion for one airport.
Yeah. But that's a brand new megastructure.
Yeah.
Okay. In China, it was the systems there were designed by a French firm, I believe. But this is what happens: is most of the big buildings in China and big infrastructure projects actually are foreign designed, but it's the construction. When they do the construction, they use tofu drake construction practices. They take shortcuts. But anyway,
poor materials, poor building practices.
Yeah, and so you get problems. Now, the flooding has been insane, and it's hit the outlying areas of Beijing in a massive way, and the downtown city, as you've seen them.
Remember, this is a dry area. This is an area that doesn't get this.
Yeah. So you saw the airport, you saw Tiananmen Square, you saw the Forbidden City right in the center of Beijing. But this is the kind of scenery that you're seeing all around Beijing, and it's absolutely insane. All right? And there's something that we wanted to focus on here is not so much the ecological devastation.
And collapse.
Yeah, that one might say. But the Chinese government's response. And this is super important here because, okay, before we even get into this, I've been speaking to friends in China.
Yep, same.
And they don't even know this is going on.
Not a clue. I had to talk to people in Beijing. Outside of Beijing, people didn't even know. And actually, I lied. One person knew about it, and it was like, oh, I saw that on the news. But it was like a quick little...
This is the kind of thing that you would expect to be front page news everywhere. Everyone should know about it.
Worst disaster in 140 years. Worst disaster in the documented history of China.
Yeah, but it's kind of back page news.
Flood.
And the only time that you see it... it's kind of said like, oh, great rescue efforts. But we'll get into that. This is how the Chinese government deals with this. Watch this very closely. Here you have a bridge. Okay. Okay, so the location of this bridge. So this is the first, he's saying he made a mistake. He said 1st of July, but he meant 1st of August.
It would make sense. There's no floods then. Anyway, I do want to point something out. This is something to pay attention to, and this is what took us a little while. China is trying to cover up this specific area. Yeah. And it's very interesting because when there were, videos coming out of people just taking videos, the location was getting wiped and censored. Yes. Not just the location, the name of the bridges, because they don't want people to know that there were bridges collapsed. And do you know why? And I think I haven't seen any mainstream media talk about this.
Yeah.
There's a huge multi-billion-dollar effort for Chinese propaganda abroad right now.
Yeah.
And one of their tenets recently has been how many bridges China has built in such a little time, whereas other countries like America doesn't build bridges like China does. So you can't have bridges, new bridges, especially collapsing, but they're collapsing all over the country.
Yeah.
So anyway, we thought this was really interesting, and it took us ages, but we finally figured out where it is.
Yeah, now this is on the 5th ring road. Now, if you don't know Beijing, it has these concentric rings. So it starts in the beginning, in the middle, and your first, second, third ring road. And basically, the closer you are to the center, the more rich you are, the more cosmopolitan. But the 5th ring road is a part of Beijing proper, the actual city. And so this is part of Beijing.
What's downtown Beijing?
And as you can hear, this guy, what he's saying here.
看看这个杜家坎桥、星河这个桥，现在已经通塌了，8个桥孔。
I mean, if you can look at the map above us, right in the center, you can see that's where you'll find Tiananmen Square and all that nonsense, okay? And it kind of goes out. So it's right there. Now, if you listen to carefully what he says here.
还剩1、2、3、5个，剩下3个都被冲塌。刚才塌的时候，桥上的车大概有6、7辆已经掉水里了。
So he says there were Liu Qiliang, so they had 6 or 7 cars fell into the water and got swept away from what he saw.
Yeah.
So he saw 6 or 7 cars. Of course, they're occupied, right? So that's people in there. They all swept away.
Not showing any death or
don't worry.
Today. YouTube, chill out.
Yeah. We've seen there are clips going around of drowned people, but we're not going to show that. So he said 6 or 7 cars got swept away.
是越来越大，看你们现在这桥的水的深度大概有7、8米吧，快到桥顶了。现在看见没有？现在这位已经快跟桥平了，这个桥现在已经塌了，这位置看见没有？哎，从这个位置掉下来6、7辆车，我已经都看到了。现在
That part.
Yeah, he says.
The cars come
Yeah,
down.
he said I saw over there, just over there, you know.
东边这块啊，也塌了。刚才这电线噼里啪啦都断了，都打火，都害怕。
Okay, so sorry. The reason I'm putting this in is we got to put a little bit of humor into this. So we're not making fun of any kind of tragedy here, but like this is what the Chinese government's response was.
Yeah, I mean, this is insane.
So let's see what they did.
我现在在的位置叫新卢沟桥上，现在咱们看到的位置就是小清河桥。
Hold on, let's point this out. I was translating this, right? I was like, wait a minute. See the XXX on the screen?
Yes.
They're blocking out. And by the way, a lot of these clips were removed, period.
Yes.
But they were blocking out the name of the bridge in the subtitles.
Yeah, he cannot say the name in his subtitles because it's being completely censored.
Yes.
Now, that is the same bridge that you saw earlier where the 6 or 7 cars, the one guy witnessed getting...
Just in that one.
Yeah. And you can see... There's a car still. Their car's still on there.
You cannot believe this.
Okay,
I'm sorry. You cannot believe what happened here.
Imagine you're the Chinese government.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
now you got to send out your rescue workers because this bridge has collapsed.
Yes.
What would you do? Let me ask you. What would you do if this is what you were faced with? Here's a half-collapsed bridge. Okay, it started to subside now. Now you can send in the rescue workers. What's the first thing you do?
You absolutely send in rescue workers from the air to get an aerial view to see if there's any stragglers or people floating around. You send in boats from the side, rescue rafts. You get a whole team. You get firefighters. You get ropes. You get everything you can. Right? Because you're in the capital. This is where all this stuff is. All the rescue workers and the best equipment is in Beijing.
Yeah.
Within minutes.
I mean, I would also be like, let's go remove the cars off of the bridge. Let's
make sure there's no one in there.
Yeah, let's make sure that the bridge is properly sealed off.
Right.
Make sure it's all safe. Make sure that, let's start clearing the debris. Let's go and search over there. But what does the Chinese government do?
What do you guys think? This is a live show, right, guys? Yeah. What do you think was their priority? And you can get a hint from the fact that the bridge name was subtitles were removed.
Yeah, they removed. You can't even say the name of this bridge.
Let's have a look.
Yeah.
就是这个水呢过来之后，水势太大了，然后这个桥呢发生了问题。看，上面这几辆车没有掉下去啊，真是捡着了，祖上保佑了哈。那么这边的噪音是从哪儿传来的呢？噪音是这个啊。噪音是这个装了这个遮挡的板，这个遮挡板呢，就是遮挡板吧啊！希望所有看到这个视频的人都平平安安的、顺顺利利的、逢凶化吉啊
！Did you see that?
I mean,
I hope everybody saw that. Rather than go and actually address the problem, they send the people out to put up these barriers on the side so nobody can see it.
They physically censored the bridge collapse so people don't think that a bridge collapsed.
So you can't see the collapsed
Instead of
bridge
rescuing.
from the road.
Yes. Instead of rescuing.
Yeah, instead of sending people out to actually address the problem, the priority of the Chinese government is to censor that there is a problem. That's how they fix their problems, is hide the problems. They don't address them.
I mean, that's just insane.
Yeah. And this is something you see with everything. Remember Chain Woman? Rather than address the problem, they just stopped anyone from going to that village and not allowing reporters to go. That's
Remember
how they do with everything.
the shroud? They were bragging about this. We should have included
Yeah,
this.
the shroud where they like block.
You know, there's a white paper protest in Shanghai. All the people were asking Xi Jinping to step down, right? And it was crazy. It was unprecedented.
Yeah.
And so they invented this shroud method where police put up this giant shroud and cover up protesters so people can't see them so they can whisk them away and disappear them.
Just block,
Insane.
physically censor the problem.
噪音是这个啊，噪音是这个装了这个遮挡的板，
This
这个
I
遮
really
挡
appreciate
板
this
呢
guy.，
就是遮挡板吧
I
啊。
think he showed the
希望所有看到这个视
exact
频。
feeling of how Chinese people are always aware of their situation, but can't say anything about it. So he says, "Oh, they're putting up this shield. It's just a shield, right?" He's being sarcastic, but being very guarded and safe.
Yes.
Because he can't say, "Holy shit, look at what they're doing."
人人都平平安安的、顺顺利利的、逢凶化吉啊。
Okay, so here's the thing. This flood hit on the weekend, okay? And it only stopped, like the heavy rain only stopped Monday morning,
Yes.
okay? So yesterday you saw was the guy was pointing out the first, right? And he's pointing out all the, the collapsed car stuff. Still huge amounts of flood waters are receding. There's still an issue there, okay?
Oh, and all of northern China is currently being pelted.
So we thought we'd go and take a look at like the big newspaper websites and see what's going on. So you went to this website. What are we greeted with here?
We're greeted with some lovely dictator quotes, some Xi Jinping love. We got your hammers and sickles talking about how you got to study Xi Jinping thought. We had promotion of China's solar expansion.
Yeah,
We
green
had
technology.
Green technology. Everything is hunky-dory and fantastic. The one mention of the flooding, which again, the worst flooding in documented China's history in the capital, where the government is headquartered.
Yes.
A huge damning thing, which we'll get into later.
Yeah.
Very, very crazy. Anyway, what do you think? What do you think what they posted was? It was a picture of successful rescue efforts and how they've completely wiped the floor. Let's have a look. I put the English one up so people can actually understand.
Okay. All right. So there's an English version, right?
Well, look at here's the
People's Daily Online. Xi Jinping. Xi extends condolences to Pakistani president over suicide bomb attack. Okay. What else do we got?
We have
China
rice
goes all
growing.
out.
They're doing promotion of rice growing, by the way. We're back in the Cultural Revolution / the Great Leap Forward again.
Yes.
But go forward a little bit. Because there's one little headline there.
Yeah, it says there, China goes all out to tackle typhoon-induced torrential rain and floods.
Did it though? I think what China did was go all out and put up sensors on the bridges so people can't see the bridge collapses.
I mean, the fact that the front page of the biggest news site only mentions it like that, is it? And again, it's like, oh, typhoon-induced, it's nothing to do with like our bad infrastructure or our bad response.
So here's the images
picture
from the article, right?
Yeah. What does that look like? It looks like a tiny little thing happened. Like, oh, look, some...
Oh, yeah, wait till you see the footage. Wait till you actually see the footage.
Yeah, we'll show you some real footage of what's been going on.
Look at the successful reservoir and how it dealt with the floodwaters, right?
Yes, exactly.
What else?
What else did they put in this article?
The next one's my favorite. This aerial photo shows fishing boats taking shelter from the approaching typhoon. It's like beautiful blue skies.
This is that article, by the way, the link where it's like China goes all out to like, okay, that's great.
Yeah, let's see what the Navy did.
Yeah, let's see what the Chinese Navy did. Well, a submarine. I mean, it's pretty bad if a Chinese military submarine's being washed up on the shore. You know what I mean?
I mean, come on.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's not on the front page.
No. Where's that even coming from? Where is this even coming from?
I don't mean the left, because hopefully no one got hurt in that incident. But gee, where did that come from? Let's check the helicopter rescue.
Now, okay, here's the thing. The Chinese government is panicking right now because, and we'll explain to you exactly why they're panicking later. You've got a whole segment on it.
Yeah.
But their whole thing is to downplay the incident.
Yeah.
And the way they always do this, and they did this with the Sichuan earthquakes, they've done this with every natural disaster, is they don't focus on the damage, they don't focus on the affected areas, they don't focus on anything. What they focus on is how great the PLA, the People's Liberation Army, is at coming into the rescue and saving everyone and saving
props
everything.
to the real rescue workers.
Absolutely.
But let's see where the priorities are for the Chinese government.
Yeah.
Yet
so,
again.
Something the Chinese netizens were making fun of is this helicopter rescue. Take a look. Okay. So as you can see, there are people stranded on a roof that are busy being airlifted out by helicopter. Okay, and this is big. You can tell if you look at the rescue workers, they all have GoPros on their helmets and stuff. But look, netizens pointed out, what's going on here? There are people standing ankle deep in the waters down there, right?
So, I translate some of these comments like, why are there two people watching?
Yeah.
Like, people aren't stupid, right?
No,
The Chinese government put this out as propaganda about, look at how amazing our rescue efforts are. We're going to helicopter in with GoPros.
Yes. I mean, you can see all the rescue workers have their GoPros on. You know, it's obviously a PR stunt. It's what they do.
Yes. It says, the water is so clear, the tires are only half submerged. Because the idea, the Chinese government wanted people to think the water's all the way up the building.
Yes.
So that they have to get these people that are like struggling right at the top, right?
Yeah.
And so they airlift them out. And this person said the two dudes next to the car are so confused.
Yep.
I don't know if, hopefully you guys caught that in the beginning.
Yeah.
The guy is just standing on the street next to their car, like watching this, be like, what's going on?
I know. I like this. The people on the roof were hit with disaster, but the people on the ground were fine.
That is pretty,
it's funny.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I don't know why no one's covering this aspect. I feel like a lot of the mainstream coverage is quite sterile. It's like, look at this disaster. But you got to understand, China's response to this shows their intent of how they want to treat the rest of the world as well.
Yeah.
They treat their citizens as a PR campaign.
Yeah, it's awful.
I can no longer tell right from wrong.
Yep. Yeah. I like this one. This is what developed countries do.
The sarcasm is fantastic, and people aren't stupid, right? But they're helpless. They can't do anything. You challenge the government in China, you get disappeared.
Yes.
Right. So.
Yeah. Anyway, I thought this was kind of ridiculous. Fight water with water.
Let's see another response.
Yeah.
Well, that's loud.
I know. Sorry. I wanted people to wake up. Okay. So what is going on here, Sea Milk?
This is a water sprayer truck, which what its job is to clean the road.
Oh, these things annoy the shit out of me.
They spray the shit out of you when you're in China.
When you ride if you ride a motorcycle, every morning in the cities, they send these trucks out that just spray like sewer water on the roads, basically, right?
Yeah.
And they spray the crap out of it because the roads get filthy at night with everyone throws all their junk on it and stuff.
Dusty,
muddy. So they spray the
grease.
The water. Yes.
The grease that comes. You guys have to understand in China, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah.
On the roads, there's like channels of grease that come out from like gutter oil stuff from restaurants.
It's like from the roadside barbecue stalls and stuff. So, look, if you didn't have these trucks, it'd be pretty bad. So they do a good service. But, okay, it shows you how robotic people have to be in China.
You have to.
You can't have your own initiative. Because if I was a driver of one of these spray the road trucks.
Government truck.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, I've got my job to do, but the streets are literally flooded with water. I would say it's probably unnecessary for me to get into my truck this morning and go spray down and hose down the streets.
But you have to
do it. But you just have to do it because, you're just a cog in the machine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's so ridiculous. So not only one.
That was in Baoding. Yeah, that's near Beijing.
Yeah. But there's another one doing it as well, so people are catching these people doing this. It's kind of ridiculous.
And people aren't stupid. They're like, what are you doing?
Like, what are you doing? What's wrong with you? Anyway, real talk here, okay? We're showing you some footage in the background now of some of what the flood has done. Because, people have phones, people are taking videos, and people are sharing videos. And it's absolutely insane, the amount of flooding.
The central government in China, the CCP, Communist Party of China, wants you to think that it's blue skies. They sent in their top guys, rescued some people, and they were heroes, and it was all over.
Yeah.
This is what was actually happening in the capital city of Beijing.
Yeah.
The capital of China, Beijing, was experiencing these floods, and all of not just Beijing, but all of Hebei was affected.
Yes.
Basically, the area that was most hit was actually the size of Great Britain, if you were to make an equivalent.
Yeah, so it's huge.
But a lot of the places that I was a little bit upset were not getting any attention were in other areas of China. Like all of eastern China was hit by this.
Yes.
Typhoon.
Not only that, Guizhou,
central China.
about 3 or 4 days ago, Guizhou was hit massively.
Absolutely devastated, but nobody talks about it.
Yeah.
You know?
And even up in Harbin now, in Heilongjiang
right
province.
now.
Yeah.
So this is actually happening, Jiangzai. It's happening at this moment. And it's happening right now in like Mudangjiang and Harbin.
Yeah.
All the way up north in China. And this place
Look at
doesn't
these
usually
cars,
get hit.
by the way. Isn't that terrifying how they're basically being sucked under into that torrent? And if you hear the commentary of the people filming this, they say there are people in the cars. They can see people in the cars. So,
and we won't show any of the aftermath. But the listen, China has declared on China Daily, by the way, that 11 people passed away.
Only 11
flooding.
people.
I mean,
I've seen footage of dead people from this flood, which we'll never show. We'll never show, but there's more than 11 people.
Yeah.
Even from what I've seen with my own eyes.
This is being swept up like crazy. They do not want people to see what you're looking at.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, just look at all the cars. The roads have been turned to rivers. And the biggest thing that I can take away from all of this, honestly, is the fact that my friends living in other parts of China didn't even know this was happening.
And again, I think that there's an alibi from the CCP's part. It's because, yes, we covered it, right? Yes, you can go on state media and you can see, yes, there was flooding. Yes, the rescue efforts were successful.
Yeah.
But it's because of the way it was covered. It's subtext.
Yes.
It's on the back burner. It's like, yeah, we covered it and we only showed some choice images, right?
Yeah.
It's not this. They're not showing you this.
No.
I mean, there are tens of millions of people that went through this flooding.
Yes.
And God knows how many died. And we covered what happened in the tunnel flooding, what happened in Zhengzhou a couple years ago. Yeah. The cover up there was massive. I don't even know what they're going to be able to. Are they going to be able to cover this up? I mean, this is insane.
Yeah, it is.
This is bigger.
It's huge, especially in the actual capital.
Yes.
You know.
And again, stick around because this has some wicked, crazy implications.
Yeah.
Seriously, we just wanted to show you.
You'll see why they're fighting so hard to downplay this situation.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
You know, back to the whole drainage issue.
Yeah.
The reason why you see so much flooding in all of the big cities in China, not just Beijing. Obviously, Beijing's not used to having this amount of rain anyway. But even cities that are used to it. By the way, look at the water level. It's above the trucks.
Yeah,
These are like dump trucks over here. Can you see?
Up to 6 meters of water.
Yeah.
Can you imagine 6 meters?
Yeah. Entire towns and villages have been...
They're gone.
Yeah, just wiped out because of this rain. In the surrounding areas in Hebei, it's incredible. It's like it's unprecedented. You know, look at the sinkhole.
Yeah, we don't need so much.
Don't need this audio. Don't worry, it's been taken down.
Like,
now.
how terrifying must this be? My heart goes out to everyone that's involved. But again, the crazy thing about this is that a lot of people I spoke to don't really know about it. And that's insane.
Yeah. And if they've heard about it, they're like, oh, it's just something small. It's no big deal. It's only like in some outlying areas or something. But that's not true. You know, you're looking at downtown Beijing streets here. You're not looking at some pikey little in the middle of nowhere 48th tier city.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, look at this.
Yeah. Yeah. Devastating.
It's so scary how quickly it happened too.
Yeah.
Like there was so little warning.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is that we lived in China so long. We know what the drainage system is like in these cities. But when you're in the north, you don't usually have to deal with this kind of thing because they don't get flooding and typhoons.
Yeah. Like I was saying earlier, even the cities that do experience high volume of rainfall every year, the drainage doesn't work anyway.
Yes.
That's due to poor planning and also poor construction. And, you know, of course, the drains and everything get blocked up because of the way the system works there when it comes to getting rid of trash and stuff. They just throw things into the drains. And
that's another thing is that even the drainage that does exist in some areas is all clogged up with fats and lipids, oils,
things.
motor oil, things like this, right? Things solidify.
Yeah.
Garbage.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And like I said, no one's used to this kind of stuff in this region.
Yes.
They're like, what are you talking about, a typhoon? That's something that you get in the south, right, where we lived.
Yeah.
But good thing you brought that up. Actually, when I was living in Inner Mongolia up in northern China, it was right next to the desert. And when it would get mild rain, you were up to your knees in the streets.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And just from mild rains, it's just not set up for this kind of thing. And that's a new city.
It is. By the way, this is a Kuwaiti distribution, so it's basically like a shipping delivery distribution plant. Sorry, there go all your Temu orders down the river.
There's some Temu and Sheins.
Yeah, that's what's going on there. But yeah, you can see the scale of this and the fact that these images that you see behind are in and around Beijing, and the main newspapers are pretty much void of any of this stuff.
Yeah, well, like you said, only the choice images of the rescue workers. And again, props to them. Props to the people that had to do their job and actually maybe rose above the propaganda opportunities and actually did things to help people.
At the end of the day, you can only do as much as you're allowed to do. And, they get deployed, and when they get deployed, they go do what they have to do. And there's no fault of the rescue workers. They do their job, and
they do.
They work hard, but you're working against a terrible system. You shouldn't have this kind of thing in place.
No, and remember, like the firefighters, remember what they have to go through. Yeah. There are whole swaths of China that have been built with the idea that they're going to fire hydrants to be able to help local areas. Xiaochu, as they're called, like a little area.
Yes.
And so that area will have a fire hydrant. That area will have a fire hydrant. And a woman hit one of them with her car.
Yeah.
And it exposed that a whole network of these fire hydrants weren't even connected to anything.
No, they're just
fake.
They're just stuck in the ground.
So you have, and that was epidemic. That was not even in the same place that we originally found that happening.
Yeah.
The firefighters show up to a fire, they hook up a hose, and it doesn't work because guess what? It's not real.
And it's fake.
It's a fake
Same
fire
with
hydrant.
the drainage. I mean, we've seen some. Remember, I've got clips of that guy pulls up the drain and there's just dirt underneath because there is actually
there's no drain.
So it's all these shortcuts. Yeah, exactly. There's shortcuts are taken when it comes to the infrastructure. And this is the result. And Chinese cities historically have been incredibly bad at drainage.
Yeah.
All right. They have a problem with drainage. There are only two cities in China that have good drainage. Mm-hmm. One of them is Qingdao, and that's because it was built by the Germans.
Yeah.
And the other one is an ancient Chinese city. I can't remember which one it is, but there's an ancient Chinese city that still has drainage from, ancient history that works well. But all modern.
Yeah, was it Jinan or something?
I can't remember. I'll have to look it up because I don't like to just say nonsense without having citations.
Sure.
But it is true. I did look it up before.
Right.
But all modern Chinese cities do not have good drainage. There's not one.
Yeah.
There isn't. No. So whenever a rain comes or a typhoon, you're going to have these scenes in this kind of situation. But then again, in Beijing, this is very unprecedented.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Absolutely insane.
This is the footage that was coming from in and around the area. Again, the government has selected. You can go on some state media, like they'll have like social media apps.
Yeah.
Like Renmin Ribao or something. They'll have like a clip of a flood going down a street.
Yeah.
But they don't have like the entire area going under, right?
Sure.
They don't give the audience the impression that this is unmanageable, but it was unmanageable.
Yeah.
You can't, was it force majeure?
Yeah, force majeure, as they like to
the
say. But look at these devastating scenes, okay? This is not something that's made up. This is not falsified, or this is real.
Yeah.
This is really what's happening. And people's lives, and never mind their property damage. I mean, like, once your car or your house has been hit by these floods, it's done.
Yeah.
You're done.
Yeah.
People's businesses have been wiped out, and who knows how many countless lives have actually been lost.
And the sad part is we won't know.
No.
Because I hate to harken back to this, but in the Zhengzhou tunnel flood, they claimed 200 something people died?
No, in the whole province.
In the whole province,
Not
right?
just a tunnel.
And we did the math. And we counted it at the bare minimum, it was 5,000.
Yeah.
At the most absurd minimum.
Yeah, exactly. Thousands of people. This is an electric bus, by the way, going through. Because if you listen to the commentary on this one, they're all like cheering that the electric bus still works.
Hey, props to the electric bus.
Yeah.
No more inches of rain, though.
Dude, I was in Shenzhen once. I was in a bus like this, but it actually got to a point where it flooded so badly that the bus couldn't move anymore, and everyone had to wade out, waist deep in the water. We had to wade out.
I did that in a taxi.
Yeah,
if you're in southern China, we're no stranger to it.
So we've seen this a lot.
Beijing is not prepared for this.
Absolutely
at all,
not.
in the slightest.
Yeah, look at the water's coming into the bus. It's kind of crazy. Wow. Yeah, anyway, we're going to have to move on to why the Chinese government is so panicked about this.
Yeah, this is, I feel like you got enough food for thought to understand how bad this actually was. But I think the most important takeaway as to why, we were covering what Winston was talking about. Why such a big cover up?
Yeah.
Why would you need to cover up a flood that's public? It's happening in public.
Yeah.
Right? Why do you need to put up a facade and boards on a bridge so that people can't see a collapsed bridge?
Yeah.
Why don't you want people sharing clips or seeing a flood going through and wiping out crops?
Yeah, that's got to be terrifying, by the way, especially if that's your field.
Right.
Why would you not want that?
Why would you be so concerned that millions of people in your country are seeing something that nature did?
Yeah.
Right? And you don't want them to collaborate and come together necessarily to say, yes, this is an issue. Yes, let's communicate to this person. Yes, are you okay? Let's work something out. Mm-hmm. Why do they want control over this entire narrative? And it's something that's very, very important to understand, and actually quite easy to understand if you know a little bit of Chinese history.
Right.
Because Chinese history, although, we're dealing with the Communist Party of China, it's supposed to be like the new China, it's called. Xinzhonghua, right?
Yeah,
the new China, it means post-Chairman Mao, right?
We actually have a little bit of some aftermath here. Sorry. I thought I'd throw in a little bit of humor before you continue.
No worries.
Because this very important point that you're about to make, we actually have some slides to show you and everything. But there are some, obviously, good stories coming out of this. We don't want to just be like doom and gloom here. You can see animals being rescued here, farm animals. And some people are kind of having some fun because over here there was a petting zoo that flooded. And so the rescue workers, bless their souls, are rescuing turkeys, I guess. Is it a turkey?
It's interesting to have a turkey and a petting zoo. Because the turkeys are from North America. I see why it would be exotic.
There's an
China.
Ostrich. Look, there's a little ostrich in there that they rescued. Yeah.
Poor little guy.
Their boat looks like it should be maintained a little better.
Well, they're not used to this.
Yeah.
But think about the best stuff is in this area.
Yeah, it's true. That's also a turkey, right? You should know.
So. It's very hard to see, but it looks like a turkey, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, at least...
Who are you calling a turkey?
And look how they're filming it and stuff because it's GoPros and cameras. It's like this. At the end of the day, it's heartwarming, but that's the point. See, it's like everyone's filming it.
Website.
Yeah. Look,
there'll be a turkey held up by the neck.
Yeah,
on GoPro.
Look how they're carrying the turkey across the river. Oh
what
man,
a rescue!
Yeah, look at that. So many cameras.
That is a hideous turkey.
Look, rabbits. Here's some people paddling around their little xiaoqu, their neighborhood. Which must be, if I was a kid, that'd be fun.
Oh, yeah, but I hate to break it. I don't want to pop your bubble here, but this water will kill you.
I mean, it's probably kind of full of bacteria.
If you know anything about flooding, it's bad. It's very dangerous. If you have any open wounds or anything gets into your mouth, it's really bad, dude.
Yeah, I guess you don't want that.
Antibiotic resistance is going to have a field day in China with this flood. Tell you what.
Yeah. Well, you've got, just waterfalls. I wouldn't be sticking around if I was them, by the way. If I see waterfalls... You get these
clips to bring your friends,
If I'm seeing waterfalls coming down my stairs, I'm like, what?
You don't go chasing waterfalls,
no.
Right? Stick to the rivers and the,
the lakes that you're used to, right? Yeah, I'd be getting, like, it's coming through the elevator. I'd be like, nah, I'm out of here.
Yeah, well, props to them for getting the clips, Some of this stuff is pretty crazy.
Yeah, like old grandpa's having fun in his electric wheelchair.
He's not getting wet, which is good.
Yeah.
This guy's like, what the?
Yep. Yeah, so I guess, some people making lemonade out of lemons over here.
Yeah.
And we thought we'd show you some actual rescues. Because, look, you have to improvise. When you're in China... You can't rely on the government to come to your aid. I'm sorry to say. They do it for the PR. They do it when they can, but we've seen multiple instances that it takes a very long time. So, here you got a guy driving a front-end loader, basically, to go rescue a dude off a roof. So it'll be down to the local dudes in the area to help each other out.
Yeah. And they'll do it.
Yeah, of course.
They'll do a great job.
I mean, you're going to help your fellow man in this kind of situation, your fellow villager or whatever. So he's helping people off the roof there with his... what do you even call that? Like a bulldozer, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
some sort of bulldozer.
That's actually a pretty effective rescue tool. As you can see here.
Yeah, because you can scoop people up and move them
look,
around.
they're moving a whole village in the bucket there or whatever.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Props to them.
So now the rain is more or less subsided. Of course, it's still
in Beijing.
Yeah, in Beijing. But this is kind of what you're dealing with here.
Yeah. Again, still devastating millions of people in Heilongjiang.
Oh yeah, it's not done. It's not done. And this is some of the aftermath that they have to deal with. And I've got a clip here of the PLA coming in to do their heroic cleanup. I kind of wanted to look at this a little bit, though.
Sure.
They don't seem very well coordinated. Look at this dude's like got a branch or something.
Front end loader, that's what it was called.
Yeah, it's a front end loader. That's right. We get TLBs, tractor loader back actors as well. That you can like. Anyway, they'd all be good for it. They'd be good for rescue.
Everything would be good.
Yeah, everything would be good. I like how they like using a tree branch to sweep the mud a little bit there. They don't. I just got to say they don't look incredibly well organized or.
You know what's going on here.
What?
You know what. I mean, everyone knows they're being filmed.
Yeah, that's true. They're like, I'm going to sweep this ground with this branch.
It's
and
like
that guy,
street cleaners in China, you remember?
Yeah.
The government jobs, they're just like standing around doing nothing.
They give them like an oil can that's cut in a triangle. Yeah. This guy over here is like looking at the footage again to make sure it's okay.
Yeah, he's like, can we release this?
Yeah, exactly.
Pass this by the censor board?
Yeah. Hey, at least they're doing something.
That's good. I'm sure a lot of people
they're coming out and do their thing, you know. So now, you want to talk about this particular place?
Yeah. So I think this is important, and it's kind of leading up to what I'm getting at here.
Okay.
Guozhou is a area kind of right near Beijing, right below Beijing.
Yes.
And it's in this kind of plain area. It's an agriculture area, but it's got like 600,000 people, right?
Now, had 600.
Well, yeah. It's called the first prefecture under heaven. And I think that's very important to remember the word heaven here. Under heaven.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this area I didn't see enough people talking about it because what happened was Beijing kind of leveraged their own utilities and ways to get the water away from Beijing and send it all down to this place.
Yeah, so they like opened up sluice gates and reservoirs and stuff to send all the water here. They're like, get it out of the city.
So a lot of the
Chairman Mao's like portraits getting wet.
Yes.
Out.
Don't let that happen. Don't let his embalmed jerky corpse get wet, you know.
Imagine that floating down the river. It actually looked like he was still alive.
Yeah.
You know, when he was doing his
that
swimming.
That would be scary.
Yeah, it'd be super
anyway,
scary.
This is the one that I felt like didn't get enough attention.
Right.
My heart goes out to the people here because 600,000 people were affected. If you look at where it is, and I think this is probably what China does not want you to know about. Beijing was ultimately, a lot of it was protected.
Yeah, take a look. So there's Beijing on the map, and then you can just see it right
Guozhou,
there. Yeah. Okay. Very close. So that's where the floodwaters were directed to.
Yes. According to the locals there. The people were absolutely devastated and heartbroken.
Yeah. Some of the footage that you saw earlier is from this area.
Yes. So I guess it's a little lower in terms of sea level, which is going to make it a natural basin for this.
But you can see how close it is to Beijing.
Yeah. By the way, props to the official photo for Guozhou.
Yeah, what is this official photo? It looks like shit.
And you go click the next one, right?
Because this is on Google Earth, right?
Yeah, you click the next photo, and you're like, oh, maybe it'll show me a better area. Anyway,
dude, that looks
Guozhou,
terrible.
Here's a quote from local. It says, we are taking on the floodwater discharge from Beijing, right? So they should provide us with rescue and equipment, but there has been nothing. There was some stuff eventually, but they got the butt end of everything. The priority went to Beijing, and to get the water out of Beijing at all costs. Yeah. Because guess what? That's where the leadership lives. Yeah. That's where the government is headquartered.
That's where the portrait of Mao is.
Yeah, 500,000 people a little bit south to there are not a priority to Beijing. Sure. They don't care about the people.
Sure.
Right? So you had these images coming out of there that were frightening. Absolutely frightening. And this area was just destroyed. Yeah. Completely destroyed.
So you got to talk about this. Now, we're finally getting to this point we've been teasing all this time.
The crux.
Why is the Chinese government panicking and trying so hard to bury these floods and play them down?
If there's one word you need to know for this entire episode, it's Tianming. Tianming means the mandate of heaven. And I have the most easy to understand picture to paint a picture of what this actually means.
Okay.
China has always been dynasties, right? So the idea is that you have an emperor or a leader that goes and fulfills a role as a leader. Everyone is subservient to said leader.
He's got a bunch of concubines.
Yes, it's the whole image that you have in your mind about ancient China, right? But people like to think that dynastical era, right? The Qing dynasty, the Ming dynasty, all these things are in the past, and China now has a modern government.
Yeah.
But what people don't understand is that nothing changed.
No.
Nothing changed at all. The CCP, the current Communist Party of China, is another dynasty. It just has a modern label.
Yeah,
right?
so you've got your emperor, which is Xi Jinping.
Yep.
Okay, and he's got his, whatever consorts or all his normal stuff and his cohorts and his, and they're all below him. And then you've got the peasants and you've got all, it's all the same.
Just because they're wearing Western suits and not wearing these flowing robes robes with top knots and stuff doesn't mean that it hasn't changed. It's just changed names and flavors, right?
Correct.
So basically, if we have to go back to around 300 BC, and this is very, very simple to understand.
Yeah, 300 BC is a long time ago.
It is, but this is where this current idea of the mandate of heaven kind of came from and persists today, right? This is Mencius, and Mengzi, he said, the people are of supreme importance. The altars of soil and grain come next. Last comes the ruler. So this is the priorities of how things work, right? This is why he who gains the confidence of a multitudinous people will be emperor. When a local lord endangers the altars of soil and grain, he should be replaced, right?
Yes.
So that's a key phrase there.
Yes.
This is the most important. And yet floods and droughts come by the agency of heaven, then the altars should be replaced, right? So the idea, and this is kind of the dynastical cycle, is that when the emperor cannot provide for the people anymore, the empire or the dynasty is hit with disasters, usually floods and droughts.
Right.
This causes the people to be like, wait a minute, we need new leadership here. So let's look at the next image, and this is the cycle of how things work, and this is what China's so scared of.
I think it's supposed to be multitudinous.
Multitudinous.
I could be wrong.
Multitudinous. Anyway,
Okay.
continue.
Yes. Okay. So maybe you guys get this idea, right? So if the people are starving and so on, that means the leader needs to get out.
Right.
Basically, be replaced.
And this is what China is trying to cover up.
Okay.
This is how it works. First, a new dynasty is born, and the new emperor makes changes to the government and other systems to make the empire run
such as
smoother.
education to make the empire run smoother.
Then what comes next is everything works better in the empire for a little while. And that's just how the nature of things works. China is a very organic place. They want things to be like, okay, now it's working.
Yeah.
Right? We've made the necessary changes.
Right. Then?
The government becomes corrupted, normally by money or power, and people accept this because they understand China's always been run by corruption and power.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed. Right?
Nope.
Then what comes after that?
Famine and natural disasters destroy the commoners' faith in their government.
Does that one line make a lot of sense as to why a government is putting blue pieces of metal to censor a fallen bridge?
Yes.
Does it make sense why they don't want people talking about flooding in Tiananmen Square, the gate of the heavenly kingdom?
Yeah.
This
And
is
just their bad infrastructure.
Yeah.
They're trying to hide the fact that it's actually bad planning on part of the government is why these cities flood anyway.
right.
Bad enforcement of planning. I mean, even if they plan it right, they don't enforce the codes and so on. So when the construction people come in, they cut corners. They don't put in proper drainage. They don't do this stuff. But no one's there to like say, hey, you didn't do it. They're just like, okay, give me money and I'll turn a blind eye.
These are details. This is a cycle, a cyclical event that has persisted since 300 BC.
Yeah.
Where people still believe it today.
Yeah.
This
So
is-
what comes next?
This is undying,
Yeah.
right? It says commoners become tired of all the problems in their empire, so they revolt. And what did we just see in Shanghai not that long ago?
Yeah, we saw something rising up. And never mind that. We saw the Tiananmen Square massacre was another example of this. But there have been plenty of almost revolts in China recently. But they've all been quashed because, you know, things are a bit different nowadays. With the information age, China's very good at like being able to monitor everybody and stop these things, these revolts starting. It would have already happened if they weren't constantly spending so much time and money putting out fires all the time and arresting anyone who even suggests, hey, let's meet up and talk about this problem.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And this is where this word comes in. The dynasty is then, this is the next step. Dynasty is considered to have lost the mandate of heaven. And when you lose the mandate of heaven, it means that you are no longer legitimately the ruler of China.
Yes.
And because the people recognize that. They say, hey, wait, all this stuff doesn't work anymore. All this stuff, the housing crisis, the economy's dipping. We're losing all of our global international relations. You know, we've become kind of, we're being looked down upon internationally.
Yep.
We now look to the leadership and we say, wait a minute, didn't that flood just happen? And then the flood goes to Beijing.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it gets too real for a lot of, at least a subset of people that look at this and say, this is really weird.
Because, you know, the Chinese government has managed to wipe out religion. Okay, Mao Zedong did that with a great leap backwards in the cultural devolution, where they wiped out history and religion. But superstition has been impossible to get rid of in China. And this mandate of heaven is part of superstition.
It is.
Okay? And so you've got these older, middle-aged people, or the older people, they still very much believe in these superstitions. So if there's big natural disasters like this, usually that's a push for the government to change, for the emperor to change. And that's why the Chinese government is so adamant to play these down so that people don't see it as a big disaster. They want to see it as a little bump which was triumphed by like all the rescue workers and stuff. They don't want to see how bad it is. And they did that as well with the earthquake in 2008, which was huge.
They cut off people's cell phone coverage so they couldn't communicate for rescue efforts.
Yeah, and
because
they didn't
that
allow,
was more important.
You know, volunteer efforts from overseas, they didn't allow them to come and all of that because they just didn't, in the beginning, obviously, because
Funds
they just
were
didn't
pilfered.
they just didn't want this to spread and everyone in China to realize how bad this disaster was.
Yeah, and the last step of this is the current emperor is defeated and a new one takes his place. Now, I don't believe in superstition, but you have to understand that a huge chunk of China's populace does, and this kind of stuff is the most palpable quoted example in history of how this happens.
Yeah.
How do you lose the mandate of heaven? Traditionally, it's a flood.
Yeah.
And so when it's on the doorstep of the current leadership, it's terrifying for the current leadership.
What's this very hard to read
And I thought this was really good.
Here?
This is the dynastical cycle of China. Okay. You have all the empires, all the emperors, and all the dynasties that snake around. And this one, I like this graphic, and just because it's a clear representation that the PRC, the People's Republic of China, the Communist Party of China, is just a continuation of said dynasty.
It really is.
There's nothing different here.
Yeah.
Right?
It really
the robes changed.
Yeah. Yeah, they wore Western suits instead now.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, so before we continue, because we still have other things, we're going to try lighten the mood a bit here, guys.
Yeah.
And so we're going to have a full show. We've still got a What's New and everything coming. But before we continue, we have a word from our sponsor. Most important thing on a bike trip, beer. And the most important thing for a healthy lifestyle is a healthy diet.
And that's why I'm proud to say this video is brought to you by Athletic Greens. I take AG1 by Athletic Greens literally every day, and originally I wanted to give it a try because I wanted better gut health, I wanted increased energy, I wanted immune system support, and I hate taking all these like 10 pounds of vitamins and pills and all these vegetables and stuff. It's so much more convenient to take AG1 in the morning before I even drink my coffee. It makes me feel amazing because I know I just did something really good for my body. It's got all the vitamins I need. It's got everything that my body craves throughout the day. Taking AG1 is so easy. It's the easiest thing you can do under a minute. It's 1 scoop of powder mixed with water once a day, and it's been part of millions of mornings since 2010. If you're looking for an easier way to take supplements, Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/ADV. That's athleticgreens.com/ADV. Check it out.
Thank you to AG1 for sponsoring
Well,
this
yeah.
video.
Thank you very much. Guys, we're now going to go into What's New. So this is where we talk about what's new specifically with regards to China. And man, can people shut up about this bear? I am so tired of this stupid bear.
Offense to anyone that reached out. You have to understand, if I had a snarky reply or Winston had a snarky reply to you sending this bear, that you have to understand that we have been sent this probably thousands of times.
Yeah,
now.
my own dad sent it to me. Okay, everyone that I know has sent me this damn bear.
I get it, all right? It's a funny thing, but gee willikers, you think we don't know about it? We're the China show.
You know,
anyway,
let's just explain for those of you who don't know, which is no one because everyone knows. Okay, but people were suggesting that this bear is actually a man in a bear suit. Okay, because they were sending these like, oh look, it's waving at people. Sorry, I'll go back there. And they were pointing out the fact that the skin is all like, you know, you can see the backside of the bear looks like it's a costume and so on. Oh man, am I tired of this stupid bear shit.
Bears are cool though.
Yeah, bears are cool. Yeah, remember that? Yeah. Anyway. So
I get the motion. It's kind of very like humanoid.
Yeah.
Right?
Here's the thing though, okay? It somehow captured the imagination of the entire world.
It's more important than anything.
It's more, and some people were even suggesting in our subreddit. By the way, we have a subreddit. You know, ADV podcasts on Reddit
r/reddit.com/r/ADVchina.
Oh, it's ADVchina. Sorry, ADVchina. Thank you for correcting that. They were suggesting that this is some kind of a distraction psyop to get people's attention away from, first of all, Qin Gang. You know, the foreign minister that's been disappeared and replaced.
That's normal.
Yeah. And all this flooding and all this other nonsense that's been going on. So they're thinking like maybe that's why this is being pushed so hard.
Yeah, because they really ran with it. Like state media ran with it, social media accounts ran with it. But anyway,
it's on freaking CNN and everything.
Oh, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is called a sun bear.
Yes.
Not common in China, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
These bears are sun bears and moon bears are captured quite commonly, and they're endangered for their bear bile. It's traditional Chinese medicine. I want to get into how
that's a horrific
horrible,
practice.
but you can see it looks kind of like it's moving like a man. It stands on two legs.
Yeah.
It's got the wrinkles and the suit.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But I mean, it's very clearly
It's a bear,
It's a freaking
guys.
bear.
It's a bear. It's not a man in a suit. It's actually a bear. They're just kind of human-like.
I think I read a great quote.
If it's a man, he's got the longest freaking neck in the world.
Yes. I read a great quote, though.
What's that?
From a Chinese netizen.
Yeah.
And they said, if people have to question if our bears are real, then what does that say about our country?
Yeah, that's true.
Because China does fake everything.
They do.
So I can see why there's skepticism.
Yeah.
But I also understand why it was allowed to proliferate. Because guess what? I would say, let's just say 100 people shared flood stuff with me.
Yeah.
Let's say 1,000 people shared bear stuff with me. What do you think is more important? Thousands of people that potentially just died in a massive, huge, earth-shattering flood, or a bear in a zoo? But people care about the bear more than actual events where people are hurting.
Yeah, well, maybe they just want some positive news.
That's fine, but I'm saying that's why it was allowed to proliferate, I think.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
I would say there is a bit of psyopness to it, because the CCP would love a distraction.
Of course, it's a great... But by the way, this zoo got, what, like 20,000 visitors in a day?
At the end, they actually won out. Because 20,000 people showed up like the next day to Hangzhou Zoo.
Yeah.
They're like, I want to see this fake bear.
Yeah.
Great
exactly.
PR.
Yeah, very good PR. Yeah. Speaking of these zoos, way back when I first got to China and I was teaching kindergarten, okay? I remember there was this thing because, they'll take the kids to go to these zoos and stuff.
I've been there.
And there was this one that was supposed to be as advertised as being like mysterious sea creatures and stuff like that. But they had like a tortoise, like eating lettuce. Yeah. It was like, and just random like rabbits and just normal things.
You know what's effed up? There was a zoo in China, and there was they go through these periods where they just kill all the stray animals. Yeah. I'm sorry if this is dire, but I won't give details. But anyway, they're in the zoo. You could pay 20 RMB. Yeah. So like, I don't know, $5 to incinerate a stray cat. They had like an incinerator box, and you pay the money to push the button.
What? That's messed up.
The one tiger park I went to in Harbin, they you could pay, I can't remember, 200 RMB or something. It was pretty expensive, but you get a live duck and you huck it to the tigers.
Oh, so you can
just
throw
watch
it to
them
the
eviscerate it. But people were chucking soda bottles in there, and the tigers were eating them, like chomping through them.
That's zoos in China's another thing.
It's scary. Yeah, zoos in China are bad.
Anyway, so this is a bear, people.
Yeah, it's a bear.
It's a bear.
And we can stop covering it. But this is fantastic. Here's a great heroic effort from Chinese traffic police that are stopping explain what they usually do in this scenario. They usually catch illegal motorcycles. They throw
things, but they're catching an ostrich.
Here there's an ostrich running through that police checkpoint. But now it's not his problem.
No, I mean, usually you see motorcycles and e-bikes escaping the cops like that, but this time it was an actual ostrich, which is great. Yeah. Props to the ostrich.
Props to the ostrich for getting away.
Yeah.
Lickety split. I thought this was pretty funny.
Oh yeah, I need
sound. You need a little volume for that one. You got to change the master as well.
Yeah, I'll get it up there. Yeah. Okay, hopefully this doesn't blow people's ears off.
I turned it down a little.
Okay, let's get it up there. Okay, let's see. So this is a little meme, and what does it have to say?
So this is I'll go back to
I'll go back to it. Yeah.
This is a TV that transforms into a psychotic like metal villain
transformer thing because, to attack the person using it.
Yeah, because Xiaomi Note 11 is a type of cell phone from China. So if you said Taiwan is a country,
it's a notebook.
Oh, it's a notebook. It would get very upset.
Yes, it would.
It would attack you. Yeah. Oh, I think you played that too quickly in succession. Oh, you didn't hear anything. I don't want to copyright.
Oh yeah, that's true. Sorry. Okay, so I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but we have a VIP show every Monday, and this
we're going to be talking about plants and animals that came from China.
Yep.
That are ruining your country.
They're forbidden fruits or whatever. Forbidden fruits. She does look like Xi Jinping.
It's Xi Jinping, dude. What? That is Xi Jinping, but SHE.
Easy to catch, I guess.
Chop, chop, chop. Sorry, I don't understand.
Meow, meow, meow. Oh, that's all right.
Last 5 times, I also bought this. This is my flavor.
They suck.
Yeah, so we have a whole show every Monday. It's if you like the China show you're watching now, you have a whole nother one of those on Monday, but it's the stuff we can't cover on YouTube, if you catch my drift.
Yeah.
It's all the stuff that's either too, whatever. I'm not going to give too much detail. I will tell you, it's a full-on show,
Yeah.
and we cover awesome stuff.
If you'd like to check it out, and if you have the means, please go over to patreon.com/ADV podcasts, where you can sign up and check it out, because it's super fun, and it's a VIP show that we hold every Monday.
If you don't want the show, the other tiers in the Patreon are a great way to support us because you get access to the Discord. You can have an audio version of the show. It's the whole shebang's there.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes, all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah, it's good stuff. All right, so now we're moving on. What are we doing now? Wumao Corner, right?
Yes.
Okay, Wumao Corner is where we talk about the haters and all the nonsense they're up to. And this is a fairly interesting thing that we've got going on over here.
Yeah, there's a new thing going down.
Okay.
So the allegations of child labor or forced labor in China,
Yeah.
right? And many of which have been proven to be true.
Yeah.
Especially in the Xinjiang region, Western China. For a lot of forced labor going on down there.
And prisoners.
And prisoners. This
Just
is
in general.
This has always been a thing.
Yeah.
But what they've been doing is they've been taking their products, especially toys and stuff, and they write made in China because they have to.
Yeah.
It's kind of the law. And then
And they're
they
proud
write,
of it too.
And they're proud of it too.
Yeah.
And they have to write no child labor. They don't have to. This is like an option that people are taking because they still want to sell their products
Yeah.
and defeat those allegations, right?
Right.
But I thought there was an interesting response to this.
Okay, like an interesting meme.
This is a ball, obviously.
Yeah, it says no child
This
labor.
is the kid who stamped that on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's unfortunate these rules or
The
regulations.
fact that
or
has to
labels,
exist is worrying.
It's a little telling, isn't it?
It's it's like it's literally the person who does something bad is like, I didn't do it.
Yes. This guy, people were whining, being little whiny
About what?
biznatches about, VPNs are not illegal in China. There's a lot of people that use them, all this kind of stuff. We always get into this. We're like, yeah, sure. VPNs are illegal in China. Porn is illegal in China. All of these things are illegal in China, and they will throw the book at you if they decide to. It's not like a sweeping net. They're not like, I'm going to find every last person.
Yeah, it's official discretion. And so they enforce things when they want to. So just because you see someone doing something doesn't mean it's legal. And I've run into this in China many times because you'll be sitting down, having a barbecue, drinking. You know that I was told by a policeman in China that drinking in public is actually illegal.
Yeah, and if that's just the most outlandish thing
Because
I've ever heard.
everyone does it.
Yeah.
And I'd been there for years. And the policeman told me that. And I'm like, well, I didn't know that.
As you guys are drinking.
Yeah, we were drinking together. He's a policeman. He told me that. He's like, and things like fireworks are illegal while fireworks are going off. You know what I mean?
window.
Yeah,
One
exactly.
blew up my window, killed a bird.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. But it's one of those things that so many things are on paper illegal in China, but you don't see them enforced. And so people think it's okay to do. And so you get a lot of foreigners, for instance, who go there. They're using a VPN. And look, when foreigners use a VPN, it's acceptedly okay. Okay, the government's not going to, unless you use a VPN to post something anti-government, of course.
Yes.
But if you're using a VPN just to chill out
your
and
email
check
or
your Facebook or whatever, they're not going to clamp down on you. But Chinese people, if they're caught using a VPN to make a tweet or a Facebook post or something, can get in serious trouble.
Oh, they do.
'Cause
They
it's actually illegal.
disappear people over it.
There's a reason they spend billions of dollars on their stupid Great Firewall, the Golden Shield project, as it's called.
Just in case you're unaware, there's a lot of new people here. The Chinese internet is almost all blocked. If you go to China, they can pretty much see none of what you can see back home.
like 80% of websites.
I think it's up to 80% now.
Yeah, foreign websites. So
They're blocked.
you name it, you can't use it.
So people use a tool like
You can't
VPN to
use
get over.
Google, you can't use Facebook, you can't use YouTube, you can't use Instagram, you can't use Wikipedia.
Yes, millions
There's
of Chinese young people do use VPNs to jump the wall, as they say, but
it's illegal.
they get into trouble, especially when they post things.
Yes.
Right, viewing something is different than posting something, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at this guy is a famous artist. He was making porn, hentai.
Yeah.
Adult images of Genshin Impact.
I mean, he was drawing porn. It's not like it's...
No. I'm trying to say
Yeah.
though, Genshin Impact, very famous Chinese
Yeah.
game. It's like an MMO.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, it's like it looks like Japanese animation style, but it's like a game and you
It's
run
an
around.
RPG.
Yeah, it's
Online RPG.
Something like that.
Okay, anyway, he was popular for making Genshin Impact hentai, porn.
Yeah.
Right? Drawing it, like you said.
Or maybe he was making it in the game or something, but but yeah,
Here's
videos.
here's a post. It says, "Do you know the Chinese artist Shirakami? He was making H videos, and I assume that means hentai.
Yes.
Which is Japanese anime porn.
Yeah.
Of Genshin Impact. Yes, he did it because apparently he got arrested. And no, it doesn't involve minors. And yes, he made erotic content because there was a lot of rumors like, oh, he must have done something illegal. No, in
it's just
China,
erotic content.
doing this is illegal.
Yeah.
Right? Yes, those very videos he was making are what got him in jail. I don't know if you know, but the production, distribution, and sale of pornographic and obscene content is a crime in China, and Shirakami will get 10 years in prison for that.
Yeah.
And people were like flabbergasted because they were like, oh, well, China's it's American propaganda that China is actually a restrictive authoritarian country.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people that actually fall into the subset of enjoying content from China fall into this narrative that, hey, everything's free and open. Look, this guy's on a VPN using Twitter.
Yeah.
You know? No, you get 10 years in jail when you draw naked cartoons.
Yeah.
You know, like this is a reality.
It's a very, very bad and restrictive system. And like we were saying earlier, just because someone's doing it doesn't mean it's legal. It's just that the law generally turns a blind eye unless you do something that, it is too popular or gets too much attention, or if you do anything that criticizes the government in any way.
Yes.
You know.
Anyway, he's peaced out. So.
Yeah, that's not very nice news.
This is interesting.
Yeah.
This is I hate showing Twitter beef, by the way, but this was too funny.
Yeah, I can help
There's
myself.
this guy, what is it, Jason Smith.
He's a massive shill.
Yeah, he's shill for the Chinese government. American dude, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which
He's
is rare. You don't usually get Americans.
No, you do. There's a bit of an uptick.
Let's be honest,
yeah.
though. The majority are from
Yeah,
Canada.
Canada, it's
I don't
true.
know why.
So, foreigners who go to China and they're treated differently and probably treated as an important person for the first time in their lives. So they absolutely fall in love with that attention and the power. And so what they do is they decide to white knight for China, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, I mean, this is an official capacity. I think he works for CGTN or something.
Well,
this is not a Zigang Wumao, dude.
Yeah,
This is
but
not
I mean,
a
he's
free
whatever.
will.
Yeah, he's doing like all those tours and the propaganda tours and things. So yeah, Xinjiang and all that.
He is a journalist for Chinese state media.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, either way,
He literally works for CGTN.
He probably does. I mean, most of them do actually, as a stringer at the very least.
No, just straight up.
Okay. Well, either way, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
What is here is the fact that the dude nonstop posts pro-Beijing propaganda every day.
He is a host of the Bridge podcast, which is the Chinese government podcast.
Right. Okay. So either way, I mean, if you open it, it's like he's always like posting areas. He's posting something like, "Look how better China is than America," and look at all this stuff. So he posted this thing, which says, "China has rolled out exoskeleton suits to the general public. China is living in 2101."
What is this new bullshit going around? All the propagandists for China right now are saying China's living in 2300 or whatever. They're making up these ridiculous future forward claims. Bro, have you been to China? You work for China. Walk outside your little bubble in Beijing, have a little look.
Yeah, it's dumb. So I couldn't help it. So I said, maybe you should get one, since simping for the CCP proves that you obviously lack a spine.
Oh, and again, I don't usually post this kind of stuff, but it was such a sick burn.
Yeah, it's like 3 a.m. or something. I couldn't sleep, and I just looked at Twitter. I'm like, screw this, because that stuff's not available to the freaking public anyway.
Yeah.
Even if it is, it's not widely used.
Sure.
But it's, anyway, just had to put that in there. It's in Wumao Corner.
That was a good win.
Yeah, we could do that every once in a while.
Once in a while. That's a little treat, because we don't do that.
So we're going to go to Worldview now. Yeah. So where we talk about everything in the world, specifically with regards to China.
Yeah, so there's some crazy shit that just went down. They found a COVID lab.
Yeah.
A clandestine, secret, illegal lab working with infectious diseases over in California.
Yeah, in Reedley, California.
Yeah, which is, I guess, near Fresno or something. So I learned about this, and the more I look into it, the more sus this is.
Yeah.
This is really effed up, and some bullshit's going down, I reckon. So I'm going to do an expose on it.
Yeah, you're going to do a proper video on it.
One might say I've already done it.
Yeah, exactly.
I will release that.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Just a little bit of info for you guys. They found a lot of infectious diseases in there that they were keeping, HIV and freaking cholera and all this stuff, which you shouldn't be hanging around. It's very bad. It's like if you look, you're going to show it all. You'll show how bad and poorly equipped the so-called lab was.
Gross.
But there were like 1,000 COVID mice in there.
Yeah, 900.
Yeah, 900.
Believe,
yeah. So, and those are mice that are engineered to catch and carry COVID. And it's in like a very insecure lab in the middle of California.
Very, very sus.
And it was actually in an abandoned building.
It was actually found a while ago.
Yeah, supposed to be. Anyway, you'll do the whole thing, but that's something that needs to be seriously looked at.
Yes, seriously. Absolutely disgusting. So yeah, watch out for. By the way, if you guys are new, we have a huge audience right now.
Yeah.
Both Winston Serpent ZA and me and Lao86, we have our own channels. We do journalistic stuff there. This is where we do current event stuff.
This is
our
a
live
breaking.
show.
That's why we're having a breaking thing. Usually we're on Fridays. For those of you who are looking forward to the Friday show, once again we apologize, but we do have something for you coming on Friday.
We do.
We're going to be doing a good old-fashioned ADVChina on the bikes thing.
Yeah, premiere.
Yes, we're going to do a premiere. You'll see. It'll be
Inside
fun.
joke.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We had...
Wow, look at this.
It's some fantastic art. You know, this is from Dragonilla. I'll get us out of here so you can see the signature in the bottom there. But, you know, we made some fun of the foreign minister because, you know, Qin Gang, the foreign minister, has been kicked out. He's been purged.
Vanished.
Okay, he's disappeared without a trace. And so they brought the old guy back, Wang Yi, and he looks like a freaking puppet.
He looks like a marionette.
And so last time we made a joke that he looks like the puppet from Saw.
And you guys went wild.
Oh, we got some great fan art.
Dragonella had, I think that was kind of the most accurate in terms of the feeling I was thinking.
Yeah, this
But
is
there was
my
some great
favorite,
stuff,
but
yeah.
there have been some incredible ones. We don't have all of them here, guys, because we got a lot.
Oh, yeah.
But they'll all make an appearance at some point on the show.
I like the first one. It says, "Guy, this is the first one I saw. Guys, I think I got the Wang Saw." Because his name's Wang Yi.
Wang Yi, yeah,
Like
exactly.
But you know what's crazy?
Oh, this is interesting.
This
Yeah.
is actually deep, and I'm glad you guys made some of this fan art because
Yeah.
it exposed something very interesting.
Yes.
You guys know that because we're critical of the Chinese government, we get targeted by paid people in China to go try to take us down, right?
Yes.
They try to remove our content. They use the flagging system on social media to get rid of our stuff. And this was in quarantine, no
Yeah.
pun intended. This one is in quarantine, and I'm a mod, right?
Yeah, on our own subreddit.
own
because,
subreddit.
you know, it's fan art for our show on our own subreddit on Reddit. Somebody posted this picture, the one that, do you want to cross the red line? Okay.
And people were giving me shit. I was getting messages. They were like, and rightfully so. They're like, why did you get rid of this post?
Yeah.
Right?
And you were
'Cause
like,
they
"What?"
thought I removed it.
Yeah, we didn't remove anything.
No.
But what had happened was it had been mass flagged by obviously the people that work for the Chinese government or who are sympathetic to the Chinese government.
Yeah, I'll read it here.
And what did it say?
Because it's very small. But
Yeah.
on the top, it says, this was reported by Automod as waiting for your review. So I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Right? So you scroll down and it says, this has received 2+ reports, which means that there was a lot of reports.
More than two.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what they did was a bunch of paid
Like
Wumao
300 reports probably.
in China, yeah, reported this post because it made them upset.
Yes.
Because they're literally their job to protect government employees, to make
Yeah,
them
yeah.
not look bad. So this fan art got quarantined, and
Yes.
I manually approved it, right? And it said, this is what it was reported for.
Okay.
And this is what Reddit's warning me. This
Yeah.
is this post. So this is, by the way, this is a top government official, a public figure. You
Yes.
can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You can draw him. You can.
I mean,
it's
just to put it in context, you know, like you see people draw Trump or Biden or,
Or
whoever,
Blinken.
anyone, but they
Yeah.
draw these like ridiculous, like naked pictures of
Yeah.
them doing stupid, whatever, you know, like
This is innocuous and mild.
Yes.
Right. This is like base level political commentary, political cartoon stuff,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Stuff you would see in a newspaper.
Yeah.
Like a mainstream newspaper.
Of course.
It says it's promoting hate based on identity or vulnerability. So wait, being a CCP, being a member of the Communist Party of China is now an identity.
And the most powerful men. One of the most powerful
Yes.
men in China
Yeah.
is vulnerable.
He's vulnerable and
They're vulnerable.
And you got to protect his identity.
Oh, what identity?
What, it's a
That is a puppet? You know, master of puppets?
for all the puppets of the
puppet
world.
rights. You know what I mean?
Puppets rise
Holy
up.
shit. Wow.
Bro, and you know what you do? I'll say it in a second. It's targeted harassment. It's someone else. This is a person in our subreddit that drew a painting, a joke,
Yes.
of a clown puppet.
Yes, yes.
Of a public figure.
Very
Is
public
targeted harassment
Yeah.
based on a pop culture movie. This is like the most vanilla.
Yeah. So he's a vulnerable person. It's targeted harassment based on what? Vulnerability and stuff? Give me a break.
You know what you do? Again, and I hate to give advice to the Chinese government all the time, but like,
Yeah.
you know what you do when you send your people out to do this, your government people that work for you? is the post goes up, and I'll be honest with you, I had too many other things to show, but now I showed it on the show to 10,000 live people.
Yeah, so now you know how stupid you are because you've exposed your methods using Western social media, Western culture war sensibilities and that type of thing against freedom of speech is what they're doing.
Yeah.
This is called transnational repression.
Guess what? First Amendment. We're in America. We have protected speech. We can do whatever we want. We have free speech, and I didn't even make that.
No. Isn't it pathetic that the only way that they can try and silence you or silence any criticism is to try and use our sensibilities and our freedom of speech against us, like all these flag and report it as this dude.
You
seriously.
just signal boosted.
Yeah, he's not vulnerable.
The people responsible for protecting his image or whatever, he's obviously a dictatorial puppet, right?
Yeah.
To the people out there making sure that he's not slandered or like ridiculed in public political cartoons.
Guess what? He's going to be more.
And you guys should lose your jobs.
Yeah.
Because you did this, now I'd say 100 times more people saw it. No, 1,000 times more people saw it.
And we're going to make these pictures a part of the show. We're going to start putting in sound bites for
If you report them, then that's what we know is going to get a good rise out of people on our show. Exactly. Stop telling us what to do.
Exactly.
Anyway,
that concludes the main part of the show, guys. And now it's time for Q&A. It's Yamcha. This is where we answer your questions and you question our answers. In other words, we're going to read the super chats. It's time to relax. It is Wednesday, not Friday, unfortunately. So usually the show is on Friday. And look, all things, willing, we will have the show on Friday next week.
Yes.
It's just these floods were too important not to cover now, especially since we see the great effort to which the Chinese government is going to cover it up.
Yes.
The fact that they're willing to physically censor a collapsed bridge with barriers so nobody can see it or report on it or film it or whatever, it shows you how seriously they're taking it.
Yeah.
And just like we called it with the volleyball collapse, which killed that whole team of young teenagers, that news is gone and no longer being talked about.
Yeah. I mean, you'll see drips and drabs of this.
Yeah, but it's just gone. It's like it's no longer... it's been swept out of the way. And that's what the Chinese government does and relies on, is making sure bad news goes away.
Right.
Right. So anyway, let's get to answering some questions. And how it works is we leave the Q&A section up. And we do it live, we leave it up on the weekend, and then we cut it out on Mondays.
Yeah. I actually wanted to make something clear about the whole mandate of heaven thing, just so I was looking at some of the chat.
Yeah.
I don't believe this will cause that. I don't want people to misread me. If you're new here, you might think we're trying to make predictions here. I don't think so. No. I'm saying we're trying to explain to you why they take it so seriously.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're worried about.
Correct.
I'm not saying that will lead to it. We've seen the CCP, we're the first people to tell you that we're not even asking for like regime change or economic collapse and replacing the government or anything like that. We want to see the government reform and behave, and what we've seen is them literally do the opposite every single time.
Go back. They keep going backwards
behave.
towards Mao times and towards heavy-handed censorship and control over the people and silencing people and really just becoming worse and worse. Because when we lived in China, we saw the opposite. I got there in early 2006, and I saw China opening up.
Me too.
And we saw things getting better.
Yeah.
And we saw them embracing working with the rest of the world and actually...
You felt welcome.
Yeah. We saw China going in the right direction. And then when Xi Jinping took over, we saw it immediately start to reverse and immediately start to be called the enemy, and the West is now a competitor in a bad way, as in an enemy. No longer are we going to hold hands and shake hands. Now we're going to employ wolf warrior tactics. Now we're going to point fingers and blame the West for every single problem we have at home. Now we're going to cover up all of our own problems, like the whole COVID fiasco, by pointing fingers and saying, no, it came from there. No, it came from there. No, that kind of nonsense, right? We saw China go the wrong way.
Yeah.
So
if you're new, you have to understand where we're coming from. We're heartbroken about the direction China took.
Correct.
And it didn't have to be like that.
No.
It didn't have to be like that. It was a very bright future for the country.
Yeah. So anyway, if you are not sticking around, or if you're watching this next week, we bid you adieu. Stay awesome. But for those of you who are live now,